Good afternoon and welcome to the RegTech Association's RegTech Edge No Borders program on regulatory compliance solutions. My name is Simon Callahan, CEO of the RegTech Association, and I look forward to presenting and introducing some of our great members. I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. In acknowledging country, we honour the resilience, wisdom and innovative spirit of the Indigenous communities. Today will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive the link. Cameras and mics off unless you are presenting, please. We ask that all questions be asked in the chat, so don't be shy. I'll ask that presenters jump directly into the chat to answer those questions that you might have. There will be some polls that pop up on occasion, and we'd appreciate your input as these help with our industry trends and the quality of our presentations. It's now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Peter Villaris, who will provide us with an overview of the regulatory landscape. Peter is a partner at UX Law, which is a firm specialising in advising small and growing technology companies in Australia. UX Law has helped hundreds of founders and startups in the tech sector and guiding larger corporates through the Australian regulatory landscape. Peter has over 8 years' experience helping lead RegTech companies with their compliance, privacy, IP, and corporate legal needs. Thanks, Peter. Over to you.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for that great intro. It's great to be a member of the RegTech Association. I was a member through IDverse previously. We recognise the value that membership brings. New compliance regulations are a two-edged sword for all of us in the RegTech sector. More regulations means more sales opportunities, which is great for your CEO and your sales directors. But then, of course, more compliance means you have to comply yourselves, which is not so great for your COO or your head of compliance. The trend under the Labour government here in Australia over the past 3 years has been clear, and that is much, much more compliance. And overall, that's probably good news for most people on this call. I'll start with a quick word on the Privacy Act. I'm a bit of a privacy nerd myself, and I've been very pleased to see the changes introduced last year, and I look forward to the second tranche of changes we're expecting. I won't run through those changes in the few minutes I've got, but I will say the key change to my mind is not a legal change, but more of a practical change. And that's because the regulator, OIAC, has been given money and scope to do its job properly, really for the first time. This, I think, will have much more impact than any legal change can have, as now the regulator has the means to bare its teeth. This will mean that larger companies will be in the crosshairs and will therefore look at solutions to help with their compliance. Cross into the financial sector, we've been helping a lot of clients who have been deemed a material supplier under the new APRA CPS 230 rules around business continuity measures. It's a real added burden to your contracts if you fall within CPS 230. Still in the financial sector, if you're in this sector, you'll be aware of all the changes coming to the reporting regime in 2026. The International Value Reporting Regime will replace IFTI. There's definite scope for innovative products there. Across other sectors, a big change for the average mum and pop business here in Australia is the introduction of the Tranche 2 AML laws. Over 90,000 businesses in Australia will be required to identify clients and check for signs of money laundering, up from 20,000 businesses today. This will apply to lawyers and accountants who should know what they're doing, but it will also apply to estate agents who perhaps will have much less of a clue what they're doing. We're advising several vendors on solutions in this space. In the pure identity space, if I can call it that, a lot's changing too. The government's DVS identity verification scheme, which tens of thousands of businesses in Australia rely on, is being professionalised. And the standards of consent collection are being increased drastically, way beyond, it must be said, what's required in the Privacy Act. This is a very complex area. It's causing lots of confusion in the market. They've pushed back enforcement of the changes from June to December to give us all more time to understand what the hell's going on. Amongst contract lawyers, there's been consternation at the massive increase in scope to the Australian consumer law. But don't stop listening, because despite being called the consumer law, it applies to your standard terms of business with any of your clients who have 100 staff or less, i.e. 99% of your clients. Your T's and C's can be found void if they are deemed unfair. You can even be fined by a court for having unfair terms. In my view, this law is slightly unworkable, and it'd be interesting to see how active the regulator, the ACCC, is enforcing it. It's hard to see how this can be their top priority, given it's really unclear what unfair means, and given all of the much more pressing competition issues in Australia the ACCC is tasked with dealing with. A couple of final points. So a change that's probably slipped under the radar for most businesses are the big expansion to the anti-bribery laws here in Australia. We've long had anti-bribery laws, but for the first time now, those laws apply to you for actions by your contractors and even by your suppliers anywhere in the world. If your supplier bribes somebody for your benefit, even if you haven't asked them, you can be found liable, and this is criminal liability. Strict liability, which means, as I say, you don't need intent. There are defences you can put up in advance to help mitigate against the chances of this happening to you. And finally, one more thought. The AI guardrails proposals were published last year by the government. Lots of people fed back in that consultation. It'll be interesting to see what the final AI guardrails look like. It'll be interesting to see if the government still pushes ahead with those, given President Trump's stance on regulating AI. Let us know if you need any help navigating regulations and compliance law here in Australia. And finally, a bit of a plug, which has come up on the screen here. We're hosting a free seminar aimed mostly at founders and startups to help them look for their legal issues in their early documentation. I'll stick the link in the chat. Thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, Peter. We now have 7 presentations for you showcasing a diverse range of solutions that solve various aspects of regulatory compliance. A reminder to our presenters that you have 5 minutes. At the 4-minute 30 seconds mark, I'll turn my camera on to let you know that it's time to wrap it up. And first off the ranks, we have Michael from LexisNexis. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Simon. Good afternoon to everybody for whom that time zone is appropriate, or good morning or good evening, depending on where else you are in the world. I'm Michael Nelson. I'm the Senior Product Specialist for the LexisNexis Regulatory Compliance Solution. And today we've got about 5 minutes to explore some of the use cases around why people are using this particular product to identify and respond to their broader legal obligations. Next slide, please. One of the key issues, and I think Peter gave a really good introduction to this, so thank you very much, Peter, in dealing with regulatory compliance in Australia is the sheer volume. Leaving aside issues of complexity and application, the numbers you see on the screen, circa 5,000, are generally speaking the kind of numbers of regulatory change we see in Australia every year. Depending on which jurisdiction you're involved with, there can be anything between a couple of hundred and almost 2,000 changes that may or may not affect you. Understanding what's happening, understanding how these changes may be relevant to you, understanding what you need to do in order to respond, and communicating the effect of these changes is becoming increasingly unmanageable. Next slide, please. Previously, it's been conceivable that you might be able to wrangle these sorts of issues internally. You can look at a variety of different streams of information coming in, whether it's peak body emails, attending events, subscribing to a variety of different legal channels, Google News even, webinars. There's a host of content out there, but I guess the key challenge in that instance is the cacophony of voices that are providing you with this information, then being able to try and weave it into some sort of coherent pattern that will allow you to determine A, relevance, and B, materiality. And then once you've crossed that threshold, capturing it all, usually in something like an Excel spreadsheet, and then sharing it across the business, and still trying to understand how the business is interpreting and digesting and responding to those changes. As I mentioned before, it's a huge task, more often than not under-resourced, more often than not overwhelmed. Next slide, please. So there are usually three ways of dealing with this. Over and above DIY, you can often go out to a law firm. And again, there's genuinely no issue with finding a good law firm who understands you and your business and getting what your obligations look like today wrangled into some sort of register. But again, what usually happens is that register starts correct, and then over the passage of time, absent someone managing that register and dealing with all of the elements of reg change that are constantly occurring around the country, there will be drift. What was correct at the beginning of the year, come 1st of July, is now potentially out of scope. And we know that at least every quarter, there are significant legislative and regulatory changes that land. Having a static register is, at some point, going to be useful, but over time drifts further and further away from what your true North Star should be. And again, that's where LexisNexis regulatory compliance comes in. The solution is designed around the needs of the people that we work with. We provide you with registers. We provide you with alerts that give you guidance around what those registers will look like as new legislation comes online. There's expert authorship. The content is designed to be digested by people who aren't necessarily versed in the arts of law or even regulatory compliance. And there is a solution that allows you to stay constantly up to date with not just what's coming, but how those events are being interpreted in the registers themselves. Next slide, please. So what we've tried to do is, rather than give you hundreds or potentially thousands of individual obligations that allow you to effectively wind your own way through to a particular kind of truth, we break the content up into modules. Industry-specific modules such as private health insurance or ADI or CPS 230. More broad instruments, things like, for example, drones or charities, and then finally general content around corporations or privacy or tax. So this allows you to get a head start in terms of allocating responsibility for managing those obligations. And then, as I mentioned, the alerts flow through, but what's unique about these alerts is they're not simply telling you what's changing. As I mentioned, there's a variety of different sources you can identify change. What we do is we link what's changing to the modules, to those areas of law, then to the individual obligations within those areas of law, and give you a sense of what you need to do in order to respond. It's written by lawyers, but it's not written for lawyers. And the flip side of that is, with a wide variety of different organizations that we work with, the quality assurance is a part of a conversation that we have with customers on a day-to-day basis. Next slide, please. There's a huge amount of time saving involved, as you can imagine. I look forward to discussing this with you perhaps at future times, but next slide, please. And of course, once you get the content, we work with you to implement it. We work with you to understand what your needs are, what your final use cases are, and what those milestones might be, to make sure that when the process is finished, you've got a structure, a framework that's robust enough but flexible enough to guide you on your clear path to compliance. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the insights there into LexisNexis. Next up, we have Anita from Lahibo. Anita, over to you.
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Anita Bhattarajan. I'm the CEO and founder of Lahibo, a risk and compliance software. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. This is my first meeting, and I'm really keen to introduce Lahibo to you and the wider network of legal professionals and members. So what is Lahibo? Lahibo simplifies risk and compliance. It's an advanced tool that helps you streamline and manage compliance processes for organizations of all sizes, but we're predominantly targeting small to medium enterprises, and it's industry agnostic. It can be used across multiple domains: healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, or construction. So what sets up Lahibo apart is its AI-driven intelligence. From the moment you sign up, It recognizes your industry and jurisdiction, and it curates tailored legislative insights, risk profiles, and compliance actions. So this isn't just automation, it's empowering organizations to manage their risk and compliance more effectively, more quickly, and really understanding this landscape in a better way than they've done before. So the problems we solve, next slide, please, is typical of most small to medium enterprises. There's very limited time and effort to be able to manage compliance, because they're often running a business and they're often managing compliance on spreadsheets, if that. So we're here to solve that major problem by making them understand a way to automate this, and also data silos across multiple sites perhaps, and there's a lack of visibility across their risk and legal landscape, and there's often security vulnerabilities as well. So it's a number of problems. We wanted to bring it all together in one platform. So the way we solve this, I'll show you how. So next page. So today I'm going to quickly show you some of the pages within Lehibo, and also take you through the core functionalities. So if we go to next slide, thank you. And these are the key 5 modules. We have a legislation library, which will send you automated notifications when legislation changes. And then we have a risk register, a typical risk register that helps you mitigate actions. And then we also have an incident management module, an action center, and reports. And all this together is Lehibo. So next slide. So it has, so in the risk register, so what goes into every module? So we log all our risks and take actions to manage those risks in the risk register. It's a typical risk register. An issue management module, basically we can log anything from audit findings to incidents to customer complaints. And then the legal module, you get real-time legal updates and also recommendations on compliance actions to be taken based on your industry and risk. And then the action center, again, we can log any actions associated with risk, issues, legislation, compliance actions, and any actions on its own to manage a full GRC suite in a small to medium enterprise. Next slide. And the way we do data for small to medium enterprise, particularly, and not for profits that are working in this space, again, very limited time. So we can either share their data, upload all their data into the platform, or we can curate the data. So if they tell us what industry they work in and which jurisdiction they operate in, we can set up the data for them as recommended data in risk and compliance. And it also provides AI summaries and recommendations where applicable. Next slide. And why does real-time logging matter? Because most companies are really slow in and reactive in managing risk, issue, and compliance mitigation. So we wanted to make sure that we can help organizations be proactive instead and help them comply as it happens with legal and regulatory change. And that centralizing all the actions helps them to focus on what matters, which is the effectiveness of compliance actions and the extreme risks. So this really helps in board settings and also at a management level. Next slide. Next slide, please. So real time, so logging a risk, and this is just an example of a risk description. So I've just put some of the fields that we would do in logging a risk. And next slide. And we can integrate a risk with legislation in the platform. Next slide. And we log an issue. And this is an example of, we get all the information fields that we would enter. Next slide. And then next slide. So here's a look at how we would do legislation updates. So number one, they would get a notification email to say something has changed and log in. Second, they can actually come into their platform and search what's been updated in their industry and get their updates. Next slide. And this is a summary. So our tool provides them with a summary of the legislation change or the legislation itself and how to manage the legislation summary. So myself, thank you. Yeah, Anita Patarajan. And if you are interested, please do contact me for a trial or demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. Appreciate the introduction to Lahibo, and as she said, please follow up if you want more information. We've now got Diggy from Cube. Thanks, Diggy.
Thanks, Simon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diggy, and I'm the Enterprise Sales Director for Cube in Australia and New Zealand. It brings me great pleasure today to talk to you about Cube and how we're helping organizations by automating compliance, managing their risks, and enhancing regulatory reporting. And big thank you to the RegTech Association for inviting us today to speak at the RegTech Edge No Borders event. Next slide, please. Now, this slide talks to some of the key challenges that organizations have been facing since 2008. They've led to a significant increase in the cost of compliance as organizations struggle to keep pace. The need for AI. Cube was founded in 2011, and our focus then was primarily in providing a solution for the large financial institutions to keep on top of the increased regulatory scrutiny and changes in regulations that we have seen since the global financial crisis. Our AI engine has been in development for over 12 years, and it has been trained on nothing other than deep regulatory content and context to ensure that we can provide a scalable and reliable solution for regulated entities across the world. Next slide, please. Fast forward to today, and Cube is a global market leader in automated regulatory intelligence, where we cover over 750 jurisdictions, which include state, federal, and territories, and over 9,500 issuing bodies around the world. We have 40% of the global banks, which includes the top 5 big banks in Australia, as our customers, and they rely on us to provide them with an end-to-end regulatory change platform. The breadth and depth of our content is unrivaled in the market, reinforced through our acquisition of the Thomson Reuters and RegTech businesses. And we have further strengthened our position in operational risk and control management through the recent acquisition of ASIN, which I'll talk to in a little bit more. One thing that really excites me about these acquisitions is that we've been able to scale and expand our product offering to not only meet the needs of large global banks, but also in providing a solution for the tier 2s, the insurance, superannuation, government, and other emerging sectors who are under increasing regulatory scrutiny. The real game changer here is that we have access to over 100 SMEs and editorial staff, thanks to the Thomson Reuters and RegTech acquisitions. So to complement our AI and automation capability, we also provide human-curated content, SME reviews, and expert optimization services like mapping of obligations and performing your inventory gap analysis. Next slide, please. Now, this is quite a busy slide here, but what is Cube? We take regulatory data from thousands of sources in unstructured formats and languages. Then, using our AI and over 100 expert humans in the loop, we capture and enrich this content into actionable intelligence and deliver it to you via a single platform. This includes comprehensive horizon scanning for regulatory insights, regulatory profiling to ensure that we can map to your industry, domain, sector, and specific topics of interest, like privacy, AML, CPS 230 that Peter was alluding to earlier, both locally at state and federal level, as well as globally. Managing the inventory of regulatory books and obligations in an organized, structured grouping that makes sense to your business. And then mapping to policy, standards, and controls, and having a fully auditable and permission-controlled workflow module to support efficient and robust regulatory change management. Our strategic intent of the ASIN acquisition, which you see in the bottom of the page, means that Cube naturally expands on our upstream horizon scanning and obligation management capability to now go a step further in operational risk and controls management. ASIN fosters true industry calibration and peer benchmarking, led by a consortium of global banks and continually growing with an engaged opt-in model where customers are sharing their control set to really bring industry best practice. They bring this with generative AI and agentic AI capabilities in identifying control gaps, rewriting unclear controls, and optimizing control duplication across the business. All of this is brought together in one unified platform, bringing you automated mapping between regulations, controls, and policies. Next slide, please. And finally, Cube's enterprise-grade regulatory reporting can be delivered anywhere, branded and customized to your organization, making it seamless for the non-compliance team members to consume regulatory information and giving you the governance oversight of how the reporting is consumed across the organization. What's more, our platform has been used in conjunction with GRCs to demonstrate to regulatory bodies like APRA the organisation can attest to managing their regulatory change and obligations effectively. Next slide, please. Thank you for taking the time today. I know I've covered quite a few facets about Cube and ASIN. Please reach out anytime to find out more about what Cube can do for your business. And if you'd like me to arrange a demo of the exciting new capability that ASIN can bring to your operational risk and controls landscape, please feel free to reach out or drop a note of this chat and we'll definitely get in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Diggy. Much appreciated. I'll hand over to Mark from RegGenome, sorry. Oh, looks like Mark is unable to join us. Mark's from the UK, so my apologies there. Over to you, Rachel from Castlepoint Systems. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yep,
No?
yep.
Okay, good. All right. Can I have the first slide, please? Thank you. Okay. Have you thought about what's the worst that can happen when you get data classification and labeling wrong? You might have heard this week about a massive breach at the UK Ministry of Defence, where a spreadsheet of the names of Afghans who supported the British against the Taliban was exposed at scale. And that's resulted in about £7 billion so far of mitigation costs to secretly relocate them to the UK, on top of putting 100,000 lives at risk and creating a political crisis this week. The Telegraph have just called it the most expensive email in history. So with all the different security software that we have, why is this kind of thing still happening? The issue is a lot more complex than it seems due to what we call the 3 Vs. Next slide, please. Our first problem is volume. There's just simply too much data. We send hundreds of emails a day, I do anyway, and update dozens of documents, and the volume is just really overwhelming. The second issue is variety. We manage all kinds of data types, and honestly, none of us read the policies well enough to know exactly how to label every one of them. And finally, velocity. Our data changes too quickly to keep our labels correct on top of our regular routine work. So we often misclassify because we just can't keep up. And here's the real kicker. Even if you can somehow get it all right at scale, the high-risk data in the Afghan spreadsheet was hidden rows. The Navy employee who emailed it out couldn't even see it in order to assess its risk and label it properly. He could only see 150 rows of the 33,000 in the document. That's less than 0.5% of the contents. So how can Castlepoint be your automated defender and take this load off your shoulders? Next slide, please. We solve this problem in 3 distinctive steps. First, we take up your own classification policy and we train the AI how to apply it to your data, which we fully index and classify. Second, we recommend why it should be classified a certain way using explainable AI, which is transparent and contestable, so you can be sure that it's accurate. And then, once you're happy, we can apply the label and execute. Next slide, please. And we go further. We can help defend against key breaches while safeguarding privacy and being compliant in a repeatable, scalable way. For example, we can 1, compliantly get rid of risky personal data that you don't need. 2, monitor your company use of Gen AI. And even 3, help respond to breaches if they happen. Next slide, please. Our key customers love us because we are secure. We're deployed entirely within the network with no phoning home to the internet for any of the AI processing. We're invisible to users. We're impact-free and fast to deploy, working completely behind the scenes. And we're trusted by some of the biggest government and security agencies in the world. Next slide, please. Please press play for me if you wouldn't mind. Here's a quick preview of some of the capability that's out of the box in Castlepoint. We have one interface to see, review, and publish labels onto any document and email in M365. For anyone with content to classify, not just national security or just internal policy control, you will need a solution like this one. Next slide, please. Our track record and innovation is exactly why we've been trusted across a wide range of international government, police, defence, critical industry, financial services, and even education clients since 2018. Next slide, please. So Castlepoint helps you actually know all of your secrets before somebody else does. If you want a better and more painless way to label all your data accurately, please come and have a chat with me. I'm in Australia until the end of August here in the time zone, and normally I'm in the UK. So I'll put my contact details in the chat and I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rachel. I'll hand it over to Bruce from Revealer. Over to you, Bruce.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me okay? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, yep.
I'll just turn my sound up a little bit. Excuse me, 1 sec. Okay, here we go. Right. Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to Revealer, the platform for digitally consumable documents, enhancing regulatory compliance. Next, please. It's well known that organizations are really struggling with the cost of increasing regulation and the volume and speed of change, financial crime risks and digital transformation. They're the challenges we're all facing. Next slide, please. But what's interesting here is in a digital world, compliance is not easy when you have analog tools. And I'm not just talking about AI. AI doesn't solve everything. What's wrong with this particular picture? I found this on a RegTech brochure. Well, the problem is that it looks pretty cool. However, looking behind the scenes, we can see there are 8 different documents. We can see that these are all PDF downloads. That the information that to even pull these documents out, they were sitting in folders and drives. They weren't online. There's no contextuality between these documents. They probably, with 50, the average internet having 50 copies in every intranet of the same document, it's probably wrong. And often putting the information together is if things are manually collated. So these are the problems we have. So next slide, please. Now that's fine in a small environment, but in a large environment, the complexity can be totally overwhelming. If you just go and look at, for instance, the IDR framework for a super fund right now, all the documents that you see on the left of the screen here, we're talking about hundreds of documents, thousands of pages, and analog solutions really cannot help with interpreting and contextualizing all this information. We're talking about regulations, legislation, policies, procedures, codes of practice, standards, rules. It's out of control. And these are all in many, many different silos. Next slide, please. So at Revealer, our vision is to transform enterprise content that might sit in all your different systems, in SharePoint, in Google Drive, in Dropbox, in wherever the systems are stored, into a single integrated knowledge base. And our vision there is to create a single online corporate knowledge base from multiple document repositories. Now, you can't do that with analog technology. So what we have done is we have built Digital Twin, a web-based replica of whatever you already have in your analog libraries. And we provide easy accessibility, handle large volumes, manage compliance, and updating and contextualization of related material. Next slide, please. So this meant we had to invent a new technology. We call it Digital Twin for documents. So if you then imagine that IDR slide we showed you a second ago, just think what you had to do to try and get control of that environment. Well, first of all, we would create a digital twin, a web-based copy of all the content of that. We can turn a 100-page document into a 100-page website in about 2 minutes. We would then digitalize every document, but not just that, we would atomize it, because working at the document level is not very handy. If you've got a 300-page document over here and a 500-page document over there, you need to be down at the granular level. Section 1.1, 15.6.3. So we atomize every document and we have a URL for every block of text in your knowledge base. That means once it's broken down into its aggregate parts there, we can then start to pull information from other silos because the digital twin is pointing it back to the trusted source in many different source content. Once we've aggregated all that into a single digital twin, we can then contextualize the information in document 1 with document 27, with section 15.9 in one system, with 27.3.2 in another one. And then once we've done that contextualization, we can use AI across the top to make it go fast and make more suggestions and build even more scale. Next slide, please. So how does this apply to your own organization? Well, the reality is that digital twin can be used for all sorts of different things. Here we've shown about compliance. However, it can also be used for policies and procedures. It can be used for putting all your regulations in one place. Regulation City, for instance, is a 70,000-page website of all 6 financial services regulators in Australia. You're one click from any page of any regulation. And then you can embed it into your SharePoint system and cross-reference it with your policies and procedures using digital twin technology. You can use it for building, if you're a registered scheme, then you can build your next product, because 80% of the last product has already built it. We'll just use variable data there to make that go faster. And an online compliance register. And last slide here, we'd love to have a chat and give either Caroline or me a call. I'm the COO and Caroline's my co-founder, and we're a phone call away. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. We've got Gary from Encompass with us now. Over to you, Gary.
Thank you, Simon. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Gary Clark. I'm proud to represent Encompass Corporation today. Next slide, please. Encompass was founded out of Australia almost 15 years ago. We've been working with the RegTech Association for, I'm sure, the last decade, but we've grown to be a truly global business in terms of our own presence, but also with the tier 1 financial institutions and banks that we support as customers, including NAB and ANZ here in Australia, as well as a number of strategic partners that you'll recognize. And picked up a couple of awards along the way for our automation solution that delivers corporate digital identity profiles for banks, law firms, and financial institutions. Next slide, please. So a corporate digital identity profile, what our automation platform C360 will do is seamlessly go out and collect, organize, and consolidate data from hundreds of different available public data sources, registries, regulators, stock exchanges, premium corporate providers, or straight to the registries themselves. We then marry that with our customer outreach tool, which will go to the clients, offer a portal for them to safely upload their documentation, store that within the vault, but importantly match the public and the private data together to give a holistic view of who it is you're onboarding or running compliance checks on. So within minutes, Encompass is going to search those hundreds of public data sources, unwrap the ownership structure down to whatever percentage of ownership you require. It's going to identify the gaps between the public and the private information, and then initiate the outreach to your corporate customers. The corporate customers will then upload their documentation. That will be received into the CDI profile, organized, and then folded in so that you've got a holistic record. That digital record can be refreshed and can be used alongside alerting to start to deliver a perpetual KYC model. Next slide, please. So Encompass offers a single access point to all of the public data that you may require, and there's some of the examples of the types of structured data sources that are available through the platform today. But as well as that, the additional data sources that need to come through outreach. What we've been able to offer is that single access point that delivers on all of the access to the data that you require, a safe, secure, and easy to use portal for your corporate customers to upload their private documents into, and a just much more efficient, robust, and compliant process The same set of rules are run every single time. The same and only approved data sources are called. The machine does the calculations. It's determining the ownership structures and building all of the hierarchy in a visual representation. Doesn't get tired, doesn't make mistakes, and it reduces massively the amount of rework required. Ultimately, the CDI profile then can be integrated into your customer lifecycle tools for further downstream efficiency and to build out a technical infrastructure within your organization. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, we do work with some of the largest banks in the world, and a case study is a great example of really showing what we are about. As mentioned, we've been in the space for quite some time. In the first year alone of using our automation platform, we're able to see a 62% reduction in the unwrapping and screening time that it took for this bank to run that process manually. We saw the quality improvement by 20%, and this was without an integration into a client lifecycle tool. So with that, those QA rates improved even better, and there was a reduction in the amount of rework required. Ultimately, this means that customers could be onboarded sooner. They had a better client experience with the bank, and the bank were able to increase that time to revenue with their customers. I recommend anyone on the call to have a read through this case study. On the next slide, please, Simon, is my contact information. Please reach out if you'd like to hear a little bit more about the work that we're doing in major financial institutions around the world to improve efficiency of the process, improve the controls in the process, and deliver you a digital operating system with CDI at the heart of it. Thank you all for your time. Cheers.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate the overview there of Encompass. So thank you to all of our presenters, really. And if you'd like to watch any of the presentations again, keep an eye on your inbox as a recording will be sent out tomorrow. If you're interested in connecting with any of these organisations or the presenters, please reach out to us. We're always happy to provide introductions to our members. We'd also appreciate it if you could take a moment to complete the satisfaction poll on your screen at the moment. Your feedback helps us improve these programs. Before we close, I'd like to mention a couple of upcoming events. We'll be at FinTech Marketplace this Thursday in Sydney, hosting a couple of panels on fraud and scams and what's new in RegTech. So if you're attending, please come past and say good day. In collaboration with Gung Ho Marketing, we are hosting a lunch and learn session at Tech Central in Sydney on the 31st of May, exploring strategies for global growth. That event we have Austrade, Investment New South Wales, the Department of Business and Trade from the UK, and LexisNexis will be joining us there again. If you're interested in joining us, please register via the link in the chat. That's an in-person event, so it'd be a great opportunity to meet in person. FinTech Australia's Intersect is also back on the 17th and 18th of September. Most of you in Australia will be aware that's a must-attend event for financial services and technology businesses alike. We're also partnering with Hong Kong FinTech Week this year. If you're an Australian-based RegTech or FinTech interested in heading to Hong Kong FinTech Week, please reach out to us. We're in the process of collating expressions of interest so that we can work with the appropriate government organisations in Australia and in Hong Kong to ensure that there is a program for you. And similarly, we've also partnered with GFTN for the Singapore FinTech Festival this year. So again, we have an expression of interest out. That event coincides the week. It's the week immediately following Hong Kong FinTech Week, so it may be an opportunity for some RegTechs and FinTechs to attend both events. But if you're interested in attending either or those events, please reach out to us. We're compiling a list of our members and our businesses that will be attending, so we can put together appropriate activities once we're there. So please reach out. Thanks again for everyone attending our program today. We hope to see you at another event again in the future. If you've got any questions about the RegTech Association, if you're a member and we've not yet met, please reach out to me. I'd love to find time to chat with you. And if you're interested in becoming a member, please reach out to myself or Nathan. We'd love to help you along that journey. So thank you all, and thanks again to our presenters and everyone for attending. Take care.